When I come to these conferences, I definitely experience a time of growth. Even being established and published, having multiple contracts to still fulfill, I come to these conferences and listen to people talk about their love of God and about their relationships with God and how He's helped them in their work and how the focus needs to remain on Him and not ourselves.
I love the fact that God is celebrated. He's the focus of our writing, but He's the focus of the conference. And there's no other conference like that focuses on God and our passion.
You know, there's a real worship aspect to the seminar that's really been edifying. I mean, it's not just sort of a prayer at the beginning tacked on like grace before a meal. It's really, there's praise and there's worship and a real understanding that God's involved in it and He's to be thanked and it's really His task. And it was really uplifting.
This conference especially is very godly, very pure and wholesome and deep. I mean, God moves mightily.
It's very critical that you believe that what God has to say is relevant to this generation. It's very critical that you believe that God will use you to bring His message to the world.
Each cross represents a Christian who died since 7 o'clock this morning. So tonight, we're going to ask you to take one of these crosses home with you. We're going to ask you, every time you pray, to remember to pray for the persecuted church.
I have heard a great deal of encouragement and exhortation from the speakers and from other writers that it's really time to do more reaching out to non-believers and to find creative ways of effectively doing that.
Not only go home blessed and fed and filled with so many different new personalities that all love that God that you are so familiar with, which is one of the biggest benefits, actually, and that just occurred to me, is that this fellowship is waning out there in the world. The places where you can gather with this many brothers and sisters who believe in the unadulterated gospel, not some sort of new contemporary version of it, and who really, knowing their own weaknesses and their struggles and the heartbreaks of their life, they love God.
We can talk about God, we can pursue God in our general life, but I think when we take a little aspect of life and say, God, would you help me with this aspect, writing? Suddenly God becomes very real to me because He's showing Himself to me in this one little aspect of my life. As I've pursued writing, God has really taught me so many lessons. And as I hear people, such as at this conference, talk about why are you writing? Is it just because it's fun to write, or you want a book, or are you writing to change the world? That really challenged me.